All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Happy Thursday. Welcome to another edition of a new series in our jam sessions that's going to focus on interactive content. So in today's session, we're going to be talking about how to add interactive content to your strategy. So if this is your first jam session with us, welcome. We are very excited to have you here. Our content marketing jam sessions are a brand new mix of presentations, interviews, and webinars, and they're hosted by us at Rock Content. And we feature top marketing experts and innovators. So while each session covers unique topics and features different voices, they all have one thing in common, which is to provide you, our audience, with advice, trends, best practices on how to master successful premium content experiences for your business. So to get started, my name is Laura Pound. I'm the supervisor of global customer experience here at Rock Content, and I'll be co-hosting today's session. I do a lot of customer marketing and advocacy stuff here at Rock. Before I stepped into this role, I was on the customer success team and helped our customers engage their audience through live experiences. Super excited to introduce you to today's co-host, Stephanie Mansueto, who is Rock Content's head of content. At Rock, Stephanie leads our content team, which is a role she stepped into this summer. And before that, she was the head of our Rock Content creative services team and worked with our customers to create awesome interactive content strategies and experiences. So before we jump in, I will go over a few housekeeping items as usual. Please feel free to share your questions in the chat box as we go through the presentation. We might answer some of them during the webinar, but we'll also save a bunch for the end as well too. We'll also be sending a follow-up email with the full presentation, as well as a link to the recording of the webinar afterwards. And we invite you guys to connect with us on our social channels as well. So I'm going to jump in soon, but before we get started, I just want to give everybody a quick overview of Rock Content in case you're not familiar with us, just kind of like what's going on with us and everything that we do. So Rock Content was founded in 2013, and as of today, we provide over 2,000 brands, marketers, and agencies with premium content experiences, creative services, on-demand talent, and professional training. So you may have heard the news that Scribble Live, Visually, and Ion Interactive joined the Rock Content family in late 2019, so almost actually a year ago. And as of today, Rock employs over 500 people globally and maintains a talent network of over 80,000 creative professionals. So I'll stop talking for now, just hand it off to Stephanie and we can jump in.
Awesome. Thank you. Good to be back again. I'm really enjoying our bi-weekly get together. All right. So every time that we do one of these, I just want to set the expectation of what interactive content is, even though if you attended the last one, yes, we talked about that as well then. But I think it's important if this is your first one to tell you exactly what we here at Rock define interactive content is. And we told you twice now, because this is our third session, that interactive content is a conversation that happens digitally, and it is a form of content strategy, which is great. We're going to be talking about content strategy today. And it enables marketers to create a digital dialogue between a visitor to their content and their marketing automation platform. So every engagement that happens within an interactive experience should and can and absolutely must be passed along to marketing automation in order for it to be super, super impactful and to make a impact on your business strategies. I'm super excited about this because this is actually kind of what we're going to be talking about in our next webinar. Our next webinar is actually going to dive into how to use the data that you collect in an interactive experience. Because as we all know, like we're all marketers, right? Like there's a lot of data that we can collect about our users, whether it's in an interactive experience or a form or, learning about who they are on their, because they follow us on social. But some of that data, it can be one, overwhelming, and two, like we got to make sure that we're using it wisely. So we're going to dive a little bit into that in the next session, which I'm super jazzed about. So what is content strategy before we really dive into the content we're going to be sharing with you today? So according to Market Muse, they define content strategy as an ongoing process of transforming business objectives and goals into a plan that uses content as a primary means of achieving those goals. And one of the things I've noticed, my first content strategy role was probably late 2009, let's say. And I've had a couple of roles at different companies since then, all in a content strategy function. And content strategy is super different to every company, right? Like One company might define content strategy and the process of creating a content strategy completely different than another company. But at the core, we're always trying to answer the who. Who are we targeting? What is going to motivate them? What are we going to create? When are we going to launch it? And where are we going to launch it so that we find them at the right time in their journey? And all of it has to boil up to a goal, right? Every piece of content that we create needs to have a goal in mind in order for it to be successful. Everything we do, right, should have a goal. And I'm a huge fan of, creating SMART goals. So let's begin. Look at that. Start with your goals. So like any content strategy, you must first define what you are trying to achieve with the content that you are trying to create. So let's dive into how we can align interactive content experiences with the goals that you have for your content. So there are a ton of different types of interactive content pieces, and all of them can be used for most goals that you might have. It's really just kind of like this. I think it's the way that I'm trying to say this is it's almost like where are you going to put the call to action? What are you going to collect in terms of the data that are ultimately going to get you to that goal with that type of interactive content? But you can see there's assessments, calculators, interactive checklists, interactive ebooks. All of these interactive content types can accomplish what we can accomplish what we define as that definition of interactive content. All of these interactive experiences can create that digital dialogue between an end user to a marketing automation platform. So let's talk about some of the goals that we hear from our customers with their interactive experiences. One of them that's super, super common and something that all of us want, right? We want our content to stand out amongst our competitors. Nobody wants to create content and be like, yeah, whatever, it looks exactly like our main competitor's content, and that's totally okay. No, we want to create content that's going to have a lasting impact and really make our readers and our customers feel that we are creating something that's more valuable than the other guys out there, right? And we do this by, increasing brand awareness and creating content that really makes us look good, right? So brand awareness strategies focus on capturing the attention of current, past, and future customers. So let's talk about some of those content pieces that will help you increase brand awareness and stand out amongst your competitors. So here we go. So interactive infographics. Interactive infographics, I know we talked about this in the past, and Laura's going to dive into this a little bit later on in the presentation, that interactive infographics are really, really impactful at the awareness stage. They are really, really great at demonstrating and showing, key points, product features, really trying to tell your story culturally and what your business stands for. Interactive infographics are really great because they can also have a lot of really immersive, engaging things going on. Following this session, I think we should send you guys this really beautiful infographic that we just created that has this background video that as soon as you land on the experience, you're like brought right into that infographic. And it's that's the kind of stuff that you can do to really stand out amongst your competitors. Create something that's immersive and exciting. And I'm just really excited about that infographic. So a good example of an interactive infographic is maybe something that has that you can recreate from a brochure. This example here that's on the right, and when we send the presentation out to you guys, as always, everything that's in here is going to be linked. So you guys can go ahead and explore the links. And then I also think we'll be posting them in the chat too. But interactive infographics are great, engaging users and sharing valuable information and making it so that you can tell users, what is your business about and why is your service and the product that you offer, so much better than the other companies that are out there. A lot of marketers use infographics to increase brand awareness. This example here is from Pitney Bowes. They had this really nice, static who we are brochure that they would hand out at marketing events, and they were like, well, why are we only limiting it to people that go to this event? We should create an interactive version of this so that even if you are not at this event, or even if you are just interested in learning about us, we can send you this really nice brochure and you can engage with it, and while you're engaging with it, we can learn a little bit about you. So really nice infographic that was transformed from a brochure. Interactive ebooks and white papers, super common use case for building brand awareness. This is one of my favorite ebooks that we've ever created. And I don't, you know what? We're just going to open it up because I'm in the mood to open it up. So the ebook the reason that I love this ebook so much is, yes, it's Salesforce. Yes, Salesforce has a really fun brand. Yes, Salesforce is a recognizable brand and in some ways kind of almost a household name, right? Like, there's people that are in my life that do not work in marketing, do not work in any sort of digital space at all, and somehow they know who Salesforce is. So probably because of the Salesforce Tower in San Francisco and a couple of other, smart branding strategies and things that they've done. But that to me tells me that that's just a very well-known brand. So obviously super proud that we were able to work with them. But this experience is really immersive. As soon as you land on it, you've got this cute little guy. He's just waving at you in this fun little animation. You got a nice bold background image. And then as you scroll, there's a lot of subtle animations going on as well, like the odometer effect here and this nice little fire, rocking. It's all subtle stuff, but it draws your attention in. It gets you interested in the content. And without even seeing the logo, I knew right away this was Salesforce, right? Like super, super easy to recognize what is their brand, mostly just based on this cute little guy in his little outfit. And we go back here. All right, cool. So in terms of creating, when you're trying to create brand awareness with an ebook or an infographic, your goal for this, I would say, should probably be engagement, right? So this is something that I've been talking a lot recently with our customers about. If your goal is to create brand awareness, then you always want to have that call to action to, complete a form, but you probably should make your main measure of success how long are users spending on the experience, how much are they clicking around? Because if you say that it's brand awareness, but your main conversion and your main measure of success is that lead gen, there's kind of probably a chance that it might not perform up to your expectations. So let me actually talk a little bit more about this because I think it's important. So this experience here technically is replacing a landing page. So they had this really large asset that they wanted to get users to download, but they wanted to get their interest peaked first. And so this asset here has 39 stories. This will take you to a landing page to ungate it. So the main goal of this experience is actually just getting them engaged, getting them interested in the content so that when they do ultimately go on to convert, they're higher qualified, more educated, and just, I don't know, just fun. I love that experience. I love talking about it. Another really good branding type of content would be interactive timelines. This is an experience that we created for a Florida company called the Jim Moran Institute. The Jim Moran Foundation. They have done a lot of really great things in the South Florida community, and they were about to celebrate their 20th anniversary. So they wanted to create an interactive experience where you could scroll and just learn a little bit about what they've done over the last 20 years. There's clicks to videos and all types of content that kind of just tell their story. Not something that they were focusing on raising funds for, not something that they were focused on getting leads for. It was really just to kind of get people aware of all of the great things that they're doing. And it was a really successful experience at building that recognition and getting that branding. So increased engagement is often another goal that our customers have. And unfortunately, I know I talked a little bit about engagement being a goal. Unfortunately, engagement is a broad term, and that's kind of going back to the content strategy thing that I said earlier too. Like sometimes I'll be talking to a customer and they'll tell me that their goal is engagement, and we have to dig a little deeper, right? Because what does engagement mean to them? Engagement can be a combination of time spent on page, content sharing, clicking on elements, a little bit of form completion, pages viewed, etc. Or it could be just one, right? So I've worked with customers in the past where they're like, we want to increase engagement. And I say, okay, great. Well, tell me what that means to you. And they say, oh, well, we just want social shares. Okay, that's really easy for me to measure. But some will say, well, it's a combination of this and this. Okay, well, we'll try and figure out how to measure it. So, but that's a real common goal that we hear as well. So let's talk a little bit about content for engagement. I want to open this one too. Personalized content is an amazing way to increase engagement. So let's dive in. I promise, Laura, I won't open up all the examples. Okay, so when we're talking about increasing engagement, it can be a number of different things. Time spent on page, clicking around, but ultimately what we're trying to do is get people immersed in our content, right? When you have a personalized piece of content, people feel like it's content for them, so they're more likely to spend time clicking, they're more likely to spend more time on the experience, and that's why I think this is such a really great example of a personalized content experience. So this is an ebook. You can see we have this unlock all chapters. So there are some chapters that are going to be locked. And then here you see this question that says, answer these 2 questions to customize your ebook. And then we're telling the user, tell us who you are. Which of these best describes your job function? And then here we're asking them to tell us their pain points. So imagine if you went to this ebook, right, and you're a designer or you're a marketer. Let's say you're a marketer because I can speak to that better. So let's say you're a marketer, right? And your pain points are we're not generating enough leads. We're not, we can't measure the how our marketing is impacting our company's revenue. So like you have these challenges maybe that marketers face, that are just pain points that marketers face. And you select those 2 to 3 main pain points that you have, and then you hit submit. And then this ebook customizes it becomes custom to the pain points that you have. So it would show, information that's only relevant to a marketer, information that's only relevant to a marketer who is struggling to attribute their marketing activities to the company revenue. That would be amazing and incredibly valuable for you to not have to sift through stuff that's not relevant to you or your needs. And so I think that personalization, 100%, always going to increase engagement. When I had a data point in that one too. Look, see, personalization can reduce acquisition costs by up to as much as 50%, lift revenues, and increase marketing spend. That's a pretty good data point, right? Worth the time to personalize some content. Assessments are also really, really great at engagement because you are giving users something personalized and something that is going to be shown to them based on what they tell you about themselves. I know in the last webinar, we talked about some benchmark assessments. I showed you a couple of assessment ideas for some of the companies that sent in their content. Cannot sing the praises of assessments enough, especially as a marketer. I want to know, what are your challenges? What are your knowledge gaps? Where can I help you? And also users, from an end user's perspective, I want to know, how smart am I? How good, how well is my marketing performing? Am I doing the right things to increase and achieve my goals? And assessments can help tell us those things. Interactive landing pages. So I think that it's safe to say that any marketer on this call right now has probably launched some landing pages, right? Like we're always launching landing pages. We put forms up. When you converted and joined this webinar, where did you go? You went to one of our landing pages, right? So landing pages, they are, marketing 101, right? At this point in time. But did you know that interactive landing pages were a thing? Well, they are. And they are really, really, really good at increasing engagement with your audiences. So, static landing pages are traditionally super, super focused on just that conversion, right? Like, there's nothing else that you can do on a static traditional landing page. It's just either read the content, complete the form, or get out. There's not really anything else that you can do. With an interactive landing page, you can add in some interactive components to get users to maybe engage with the content, learn a little bit more about what you're trying to sell them, and then might make that risk versus reward feel like it's, there's a lot reward to go ahead and give you that personal information. So this is a landing page we created for Tony Robbins Research. We all know who Tony Robbins is. He's super tall and can't miss him. But they had this really great landing page for the holidays, and they were just trying to get people to, interested in purchasing some of his video content. Super cute little interactive landing page. It had a background video with snow. Just a really great one. All right. Another goal, We want to learn what resonates with our audience. We kind of talked about that with the Telerik one, right? So learning about your audience can help you create more effective content in the future, as well as have better conversations and surface high quality leads to the sales team. So marketers and sales, we don't need to butt heads all the time. We can get along, we can work together. And one of the ways that we could do that is by creating really good content that passes high quality, usable information from marketing over to sales about their prospects. So let's dive into that. Ooh, solution finders. I love a solution finder. We've probably all completed and done a solution finder. I'm going to show this solution finder on this call because if you've been on any calls with me, you might know this. This is one of my favorites, but I think this is a really awesome solution finder, especially for a marketer. So let's dive in. Oh, I was about to freak out and think I didn't put the link in there. All right. So this is a tech stack evaluator that was created by Demandbase. And what they're looking to do here is provide solutions to the user that will solve their business challenges. So specifically, we're talking about account-based marketing. And they're asking the users to answer questions about the challenges that they face with their marketing, with their A/B marketing strategies. So imagine if you are a sales rep at Demandbase and you have a prospect that completed this little evaluator. They came in here, they told you what what best describes the challenge that they have with creating awareness at target accounts. There's 5 options here. We'll just kind of go through this really quickly so I can show you guys the results. And then there's that gate. That's not my real phone number. It's not that far off, but it's not my real phone number. Then you get to the results page, and this is where it gets really, really, really valuable because they are super, super personalizing this and giving you solutions based on what you told them. So I told you that my stated challenge is that I need to determine if the target account list I currently use is a good list and how often should I be refreshing it. I don't have a tool that tells me how to do that. And so I'm telling Demandbase, this is a challenge that I see in my ABM marketing strategy. Demandbase doesn't just tell me, hey, here's our recommendation, now buy Demandbase. No, they tell me, here's our recommendation, and here are 2 products that are going to solve your problem, Demandbase and Salesforce. On top of that, they're telling me how many people have also said that this is a challenge. So now I know I'm not alone. A lot of people are experiencing this challenge. And then you go through, and every single question I answered is telling me that a solution. So this is an incredible assessment for marketers and also for sales reps, because if a sales rep now decides, hey, we're going to go ahead and call Stephanie from Rock Content because she told us that she needs to ensure that her investment in building awareness is not wasted, and I know exactly how to sell that to her. So that is an incredibly valuable thing for sales to get ahead of a call, right? Like even if they did it on a call, it's just I love that assessment. It's a marketer's a marketer's dream, that one, and a sales guy's dream, a sales person's dream. All right, calculators. So calculators provide us with real dynamic outputs of potential savings based on real numbers that we put into it. So this is an incredible way to learn about our audience, right? So like, and what motivates them. So if you think about questions that you've sometimes seen in forms, have you ever been asked in a form, what is your company revenue a year? Why do you want to know that when I just want to download your ebook? Like, and what is the value in me telling you what my company's revenue is just to get this ebook on nothing that has anything to do with revenue? We all know we're marketers. We know why they're asking. One, they want to qualify you. If you tell them that your company revenue is $50 million, they're going to be like, call that lead, because you're hot and you got money. But we all know that that's just data collection and they're trying to learn about us. So we probably don't tell the truth. We probably lie about it. But if we ask that question in a calculator where we're actually saying to them, hey, if you tell us how much revenue your company brings in, we're going to be able to tell you how much you should spend in marketing. Or if you tell us how much revenue you bring in, we can tell you whether or not you should invest in, new software and if the budget exists based on other factors that you told us. That's why calculators are really great, right? So I'm not going to look at a calculator that's asking me for my revenue every year if I think that the results are going to be valuable to my business. Again, we're talking about risk versus reward, right? Like the risk here is I tell you honestly what our company revenue is, and the reward is that you tell me, you provide me with budget stuff, or you provide me with things that I need to do in order to increase our, margins, or whatever the case might be. So valuable for learning about your audience. Ooh. The we want higher leads. I know, Laura, I'm always doing the Alexa Rose. Laura and I like Schitt's Creek. It's like our favorite show. So anyway, so we want to collect higher qualified leads. No marketer says, we don't care about higher qualified leads. Every single one of our customers, even if they're saying that their goals are engagement, there's always like a qualified lead part in there as well. So let's dive into that. So what is lead generation? So lead generation is the process of attracting and converting strangers and prospects into someone who has indicated interest in our product or service. We've all completed a form. We love a lead gen as marketers, not so much as a consumer, right? So let's dive into what that is. So yes, I use the Salesforce screenshot because I just love it so much, even though it's not gated. But let's talk about gated ebooks. So gated ebooks are a really great way to capture leads. So this is an example of an ebook we created with Pitney Bowes. And what they did is they offered up users chapters 1 and 2 for free. So, pique their interest, give them a little bit of stuff for free. And then once they're bought in, once they've consumed the content, then we go on and ask them to complete a form in order to move past chapter 2 into chapter 3. So super smart way to capture leads, and also do it in a way that's not like, I don't know, in almost, right. You know, when you say like, we don't want to gate all of our content because we know that some people might not be willing to gate it if we're like gating everything. And this is a great way to get around that. You don't have to fully gate everything. You give a little bit away, get them into it, and then ultimately, go on and say, all right, I've given up enough. Now it's time to, give me that lead info. And then also gated assessments. So we talked about assessments a lot earlier. You saw what Demandbase did. They asked me 7 really, really good questions, and then they gated the results. If you want to get the meat, the ultimate the value of this assessment, you need to give me a little bit of information. And honestly, it was super fair. That the results that they gave me were high quality. And that's something that we actually see a pretty high conversion rate on. If our customers ask really solid, good questions, people are going to be invested and are going to want to know. They're going to want to know what their results are. All right. Oh, this is you. I'm sorry.
It's me.
All right. All right. Now it's you, Laura. You're welcome.
Perfect. Thank you, Stephanie. All right, so let's tie all this really great information and these goals into how it would fit into the buyer's journey. So as we all know, or as most of us probably know, the buyer's journey is the process that a buyer goes through to evaluate and purchase a new product or service. So it consists of 3 main stages that make out like an inbound marketing framework. So there's the awareness stage, which is like the early stage of the buyer's journey. There's the consideration stage, which is kind of like the middle stage. And then there's the decision stage, which is the late or final stage of the buyer's journey. So we'll start with the early stage because it makes the most sense. So at this stage, your prospect is becoming aware of your brand and solution, as well as what their need actually is. So in this stage, the buyer is just kind of getting to know you. They want to know who you are. They want to know what you do. And they want to know how you set yourself apart from the competition. So at this stage, you need to make sure that you're creating a story for your audience that compels them to make this need that they've identified a priority to fix. And then on the other side of that, you need to be prepared to create really compelling content that engages your audience and answers all of the questions that they have at this stage, including like who you are and what you do. So you need to make sure that you have some kind of CTA in place that's going to allow you to contact that person and move them forward through the journey at all times. Actually, at every stage of the journey, you should have something like that. And you also need to be able to make sure that you can measure the success of your content. That's going to help you iterate on what you have and make sure that your story always stays compelling and really engaging as your company and your audience change over time.
I know I'm controlling the screen, so if I don't advance quick enough, I apologize. Just let me know.
That's okay. All right, perfect. This is where we need to be. So obviously it's all great and fun, but how do we know what content to use at this point in the buyer's journey? So interactive infographics are a really great option for this stage because they make really complicated or complex information about a broad topic more accessible for your audience. So an interactive infographic is easily shared among social. It's super measurable for you. Like you can go in and determine where your audiences are clicking the most, where they're spending the most time, and that from that you'll be able to gauge what they're most interested in as well too, which is awesome. Lookbooks are another really good one for the early stage. It's a great way to keep your audience engaged and interested in your brand story, especially if your product or service is super visual. You can use a lookbook to kind of convey your story in a more flattering, maybe more marketable light. And then adding interactive elements in your lookbook is always a really good best practice. It makes it more of a participatory experience for your audience and gets them more engaged with any kind of like thought leadership or information that you're sharing.
Yeah, this one from Salesforce, we actually used it almost like a product tour in a way. So yeah, it was a really, really cool little experience. I thought that it was, can't have enough Salesforce, I guess, today.
We love Salesforce. Awesome. So interactive white papers are another really good one because they help you kind of build authority and credibility with your audience. They're also easily shareable, and it's a piece of content that your buyer can take away from their experience with your brand, which is really great because it makes you more memorable to them. It's also a really great opportunity for like this piece of content, for example, to maybe gate so that you can continue the conversation with your prospect. You're getting a little bit from them, like you're getting an email so that you can kind of move them along the journey to a more mature stage where they're into, the consideration. And then lastly, ebooks are a really great way to engage your audience in a way that can be pretty customized and specific to whatever needs or questions that they have for you. Something to think about with ebooks, and I know Stephanie's kind of covered this a little bit already, is, it's another downloadable piece of content that they can take away. But you can also customize it or add interactive elements where you're asking the person questions. So it kind of guides them to the right part of the ebook where maybe it's answering a specific question they have. It helps them kind of define what they're most interested in learning first. And then you learn something too, which is what they're interested in, what their problem might be. You get a little bit closer to what the pain is that they're feeling. Great. So we've created all this really great early stage interactive content. Our lead has some of the answers or a lot of the answers that they're looking for already. They kind of see what sets us apart. They feel like we can solve for the need that they have. So now they're going to move to a more mature stage in the buyer's journey, which is the middle stage. So the middle stage of the buyer's journey, also known as the consideration stage, happens after your buyer has clearly defined their goal or challenge and they're committed to addressing it. So at this point, they're evaluating the different approaches or methods that are available to them, and they're kind of just starting to discover more about their pain points and requirements on a more granular level. So at this stage, your buyer is still learning about the depths of their needs, and they need help defining the problem that they're facing and what options they have. So you need to get more specific about how you're going to help them solve their problem and help them get to a place where they feel that an investment in your product or service is going to bring a return on investment for them. So as a marketer, you have some work to do. You have to start using some metrics to evaluate the quality of this lead. So ask yourself questions like, how likely is this person to buy from you? Do you know what pain points they're looking to solve or goals they're looking to achieve? What's the solution to the problem that you think that they have? And do you know which of your products, services, or features can help this lead achieve their goal or solve their pain? So one really great way to find the answer to those questions is to create an assessment for your lead to take. So we did talk about assessments a little bit already. They're a really great option for the mid-stage. A self-conducted assessment can be designed to help your lead identify their pain points and see opportunities for improvement while also giving them some really great recommendations along the way. You can design your assessment to be valuable for your lead, but also for yourself, which is awesome because everybody wins. So try adding some questions into your assessment that help you qualify this person without the really obvious ones that we talked about, where it's like, how big is your company, and like those kind of ones that don't actually benefit them as much. But if you ask the right questions, you can make sure that you know as much about this person as possible. It kind of helps you also shorten the MQL process and thus shortening the sales process a little bit too, which everybody loves. And then we have quizzes. So if any of you guys have joined our previous webinar, I think, like I've said 30 times already, how much I love quizzes, and it's still true today. Quizzes are super shareable. It's a really fun piece of content. I can't tell you how much my serotonin goes up every time I take a really good quiz. It's also a really great opportunity to learn about your lead, but in a kind of less intense way than an assessment. You can kind of use how they feel or think about certain things, what they care about most. It's a little bit of a lighter piece of content for real, but a really easy way to get feedback about your product or brand that you can readily share with people on your leadership team, people on marketing, people in sales, whoever needs to hear it. And solution finders. I definitely encourage you guys to think about solution finders for the mid-stage of the buyer's journey. There's a more specific way that you can allow buyers to navigate their way through existing solutions exactly as they might see fit for themselves, by getting them to answer questions like, what's right for me? And it's also a very personalized way to bring them right to the product or solution that might be the best fit for their needs. So you're kind of giving them more specific information that they need to move farther into the last stage of the buyer's journey. And here we are. So our lead is super informed. They've identified their need. They've read about it. They took your quizzes. They took your assessments. They're pretty informed on what options they have to solve their problem or reach their goal. So in this stage of the journey, also known as the decision stage, buyers have already decided on a solution or category, and they're getting ready to make a purchase decision. So right now, your buyer might have some last-minute questions that are pretty specific about your product features or service offerings. They've also likely had some conversations internally, or they're getting ready to have some conversations internally very soon with their teams to make sure that everyone on their end is aligned and everybody's ready to solve this problem together. You're going to need to do some work on your end as well. So at this stage, you're going to need to be prepared for any final objections or questions that your buyer has for you. You also want to make sure that you're making their lives as easy as possible at this stage, and that you're giving them everything they need to have successful conversations with their internal teams, because this is when it's happening. It's happening now. Cool. So calculators. To start, I think calculators are a really great way to show ROI, total cost of ownership, and pricing without forcing this buyer to speak to someone from sales or marketing or like a real person just yet. So you can use these to give your buyers useful tools that make their discovery completely transparent. It helps make a case for your product, and they can share that with their leadership team internally. It's also added value for you because you're peeling back just another layer that's going to allow you to understand this person even better. And then by the time you talk to them, you're just going to have like the most efficient conversations with them. Configurators are a really great one too for the late stage. They allow your buyer to get hyper specific with their needs. They're typically more granular than kind of like a mid-stage solution finder because they focus a little bit more on the products rather than the solution in general. And it's a really great way to show your buyer directly how they would fit into a partnership with you from a product perspective. It also enables information to be easily communicated on their end as well, which, like we said, is like a huge goal for them. So we want it always to be shareable to their internal teams. And finally, late stage solution finders are better to get even closer to the sale. So they're used to enable buyers to visualize their lives with your solution. Like, what does this partnership look like? So solution planners are perfect for helping your buyer get a personalized and transparent look into the solution they've chosen, also arming them with detailed content that they, again, can share internally, break down any objections before it gets to you, and illustrate any value to their internal stakeholders as well. All right, so we'll kind of wrap it up with, why interactive content. As William Komkowicz, CEO of CyberAlert, said, content marketing is becoming less about the words you put on the page and more about the experiences you create for the consumer. I think just in general, interactive content helps bridge the engagement gap by pulling people directly onto your content and requiring them to participate with you in some way. So at the end of the day, you're providing them with something valuable and specific to their needs in a way that you can't always do with a static content experience alone. I can just say, even from my experience, we've seen a lot of our most successful customers engage more readily with their buyers using really informative, really customized and creative content that allows them to build stronger relationships with their audience. So, Stephanie, anything you'd add to that?
Yeah, I want to show you guys a new quiz. Hang on. My mouse just decided to act cuckoo. All right, cool. All right. So since we talked about quizzes and I'm like all into showing examples today, we've got a Halloween quiz.
Love it.
And I think it's something that, we're not going to collect any really amazing data about our users here, right? Like trying, and this is what we talked about in the very first webinar that we did, which we were just introducing interactive content. And, we kind of talked about, creating certain pieces of, like, BuzzFeed quizzes are not really providing BuzzFeed any real usable, valuable data about a user. Like, in that first session, I showed you guys that I had taken a Seinfeld quiz on which Seinfeld member I should date, and it told me that I should date Newman. Why? But also, what is BuzzFeed going to do with that data? Nothing. And it's the same thing with this, right? This is for fun. This is for branding. This is for getting, people engaging with us. This is not really for lead gen. It's not really for, to us to really learn about the people who take it. It's just because it's cute. So we'll take it really quick together because we all love a quiz. But what fall treat calls your name? Pumpkin pie.
Agree.
And yeah, I agree too. I'm not really into the pumpkin spice latte thing, but I do like a pumpkin pie. And my favorite pastime is, we'll say I like to party, even though it's probably not too true.
Not this year.
Not this year, right? And then ghost costumes. I want to go as a scarecrow. And then what candy do I gravitate to? I'm ashamed to admit it, but I really love Tootsie Rolls. I know they're kind of gross. I know they're pretty much oil.
Yeah, we're diverging a little here.
Yeah, you and your friends go to a haunted house. I'll be sitting in the car. And then pumpkin is my favorite scent. So what ghost am I? I'm Pac-Man. And I want to tell you guys that I have taken this quiz multiple times this week, and I'm always Patrick Swayze. So this is very funny to me that all of a sudden now I'm the Pac-Man ghost, but it's probably because I'm doing this quiz in front of other people. But you can see, super fun to share, not something that is wildly data driven. But since Laura loves a quiz, I thought we would show off a quiz. So, all right. So just a couple of quick things before we hop into Q&A. I'll go ahead and I'll present because that's weird for you guys to see it like that. What else can you do to increase your interactive content knowledge and usage? Well, Laura and I are, heads down, really working hard to create valuable content for you guys. This is our third webinar. We have several more coming up over the next few months. So, we're not shameless about our plug here. Absolutely, definitely, please join our webinars and engage with us. Our next webinar will be on November 12th, and we are going to be we're going to be getting deeper in, right? Like, now we've introduced interactive content. We've talked about how you can repurpose static content, and we've also talked about where you can use interactive content in your content strategy in the buyer journey and based on your goals. Now let's talk about some real deep stuff, data, how to capture meaningful data with interactive content, and what is meaningful data. And we talked a little bit about this in the beginning of this. There's a lot of data available to us. Marketers are very, very lucky now, right? Like, marketers 15, 20 years ago are probably like, they don't even know how good they have it, So we are very fortunate that we have a lot of data accessible to us, but that also means that some of us are drowning in data. And so let's talk about what it means to capture good user data and what should you be doing with that good user data. So we hope you'll join us for that. And it's going to be a really good one. All right, so let's pop into the Q&A. Before we pop into the Q&A, I want to say hi, Emily. We saw that you are here again, so thank you for joining us again. We're very happy to have you here. All right, so did we get any good questions, Laura? What do we got?
We did, and I also want to say welcome back, Emily. We're happy you're back. We got another comment that I just want to read out before I get into the questions from Sarah G. She said, cute quizzes like that make for great brand awareness, and I agree.
Absolutely.
And then we also got another comment from Michaela saying, looking forward to the next one, and thank you. Thanks, Michaela, for joining.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, 2 questions for you, Stephanie. If anybody else has any questions for us, feel free to pop them in the chat right now. It is the time. First question is, can my sales team see all the responses to that assessment, or is it just the marketing team?
So when we talk about defining what interactive content is, there's a reason that I'm super focused on saying that interactive content is more than just content that you can click around in. Interactive content is content that creates a digital dialogue between content and a marketing automation platform. And the reason I say that is because, and we're going to dive into this next week or the next session, because I think it's super important. What is the point of collecting all of that data, of collecting all of those responses, if they're not going to be surfaced to the team in a way that is usable? And so depending on the marketing automation platform you use, and obviously how siloed your team might be, all of those interactions that a user has with your interactive content can be surfaced to your sales team. We try to keep these webinars more focused on interactive content as a strategy and not about our product, because we want you guys to become educated, because we believe that being educated on interactive content means that you're going to eventually want our product because it's the best. But our product actually has a feature called Sell Side. And what that is when a user might complete that assessment, it'll notify the marketing automation platform, but it'll also notify the sales rep, and the sales rep can actually go to a visual timeline, essentially, where it shows all of that user's input. So it'll say, this is what Stephanie said to our assessment. These are the challenges that she said. Here's the assets that she clicked on. Or, this is what what interactive experience she went to afterwards, and this is what she did there. So, we think that it's incredibly valuable for you to share that data with sales, because that's going to make sales have a more informed conversation. Obviously, marketing wants the information too, but certain pieces of content need to be surfaced to sales as well, and can be with the right tools.
Awesome. All right. Another question, is there a golden ratio for static and interactive content?
It's a good question. It is a good question. And I know I said this in the last session and probably in the first one too, and I think I used the grumpy cat by saying, like, should all content be interactive? And the grumpy cat says no, and I say no. I don't think that every interactive experience needs a static asset associated with it in order for it to be successful. When we were talking a little bit about the buyer journey and moving users through the buyer journey using interactive content, we talked about this in the first one, but not so much in like showing like a full user journey from like start to finish. But if we think about, the assets that Laura showed in the early stages, like, let's go backwards. Let's go backwards, guys. We've got a few minutes. Well, this is awkward. I'm sorry. That's a weird way to do it. But like when Laura was showing you guys some of the experiences that work really well, she talked about interactive infographics, right? So interactive infographics are often used to replace a landing page. They can move users to a static asset. So then you have an interactive and static asset companion piece, or they could move users to an interactive experience like an assessment, which is really good in the middle of the consideration stage of the buyer's journey, and then move users to a static asset. I don't think that there's a golden rule. I really think that all of it boils down to, or golden ratio, I'm sorry, it all boils down to what your goals are, right? And what you're planning on using to ultimately get users to complete a form. And I also think that it all depends on your audience too, right? If you're a highly, highly technical product, you might need to create static assets like data sheets and always have a static asset available to your user to download. So I don't think that there is a golden rule. I think, be wise and always go back to your goal. What is your ultimate goal, and what's going to resonate with your audience? And if you can test the Ion platform, the platform that Laura and I work on, the one I said I don't want to mention too much, has the A/B testing functionality for an interactive experience. You should always be testing your content, always be testing your social media campaigns, always be testing your paid search, and always be testing your interactive content experiences. Maybe you'll find out that your users will want a static asset more as their next piece than their interactive. And then you can always have that asset included. The demand-based example I showed you guys, I didn't get to the bottom of the results page. Please feel free to look at it when you receive the follow-up email. There was 3 static assets at the very bottom. So they have this really long, robust, huge results page with great advice. And then at the very bottom, 3 static assets. Static assets to further educate, static assets to further engage, also static assets to, make sure that a user is, really diving into the content, which means that they are probably moving more towards being a sales qualified lead. So yeah, I wish that there was, because that would be great, to know exactly what, but I think it varies. Do you have anything to add to that, Laura?
No, I feel like you said it very well.
Cool.
Great. Okay, so we have 2 more questions. One from Rita saying, "Hi, what about privacy policy when getting this data?"
Yeah, so obviously, this is first-party data. It's a little bit different so interactive content engagement data is a little bit different than the lead gen data. When they go ahead and they complete the lead gen, there's always going to be a check mark for you to, get them to agree to provide that data, because they're going to be giving you that personal information. We always have privacy policies also on our interactive content experiences as well.
Awesome.
That's a
Last
good
question.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
yeah.
Go ahead.
No, that's okay. Just last quick question was that I think it was Emily just didn't get the recording from the last session. So Emily, just letting you know that we will send it along over to you so that you can have the replay.
Yes. And again, Emily shared content with us in the last session that was really, really great, and loved that ebook. And I actually have read it twice now and referenced quotes to it to people on my team while we're building our case study. So love the content, Emily. So thank you.
Awesome. And I think that's it for our questions. So thank you everybody for joining us today. Loved all the questions, loved all the comments, and hopefully you liked the content. We will see you guys again in a couple weeks.
Yes, November 12th, we'll talk more about data. And come to that session, Rita. We will dive deeper into the data conversation and privacy policies. Awesome. Thank you, guys. See you on the 12th.
Thanks, everyone.